Resident Evil 6! Is it just me, or did that lose its sinister nature as soon as they started throwing numbers at the end of it? Anyway, hello and welcome to another video. Today, if it wasn't already clear, we're going to be discussing Resident Evil 6, the most notorious game in the well-known Resident Evil franchise. It's also the least liked and considered the worst game in the Resident Evil franchise. So we're going to be discussing why it's so bad and what things it did right, actually. So grab your zombie survival kit because we're going to find out together if there's anything good about Resident Evil 6. To start things off, I think it's worth talking about where Resident Evil 6 came from. How did we get from the classic horror game that we all knew and loved and played on the PlayStation to Resident Evil 6, the least liked game in the series? Well, the answer to that is actually pretty simple. Resident Evil 4 brought us Resident Evil 6. Let me explain. By the time Resident Evil 4 came out, the series was feeling a little stale. So Capcom took things into their own hands and reworked how it goes. Added a lot of action, redid the controls of the game, and still kept the same old horror theme that we all know and love and made Resident Evil popular. So fast forward to Resident Evil 5, they added co-op. Now you could play 2 players in an action horror game. Still okay, still kind of cool. And then Resident Evil 6, full-on action, high-octane experiences, quick-time events, you name it, this game's got it. It doesn't have the horror. And that's actually the overall reason why Resident Evil 6 is disliked. It dismissed its horror roots. Resident Evil 6 isn't really that scary. It's gross and it's creepy, but it doesn't do anything to really scare you. There aren't that many suspenseful moments. It's all about that action, baby. It's all about those explosions and the guns, and that's it. That's what happened with Resident Evil 6. It's just too much action. This ain't Die Hard. What are you doing, Capcom? Let's look at what Capcom thought they were doing and talk about what was actually good about Resident Evil 6. So we've established that Resident Evil 6 isn't really a good horror game, which actually says Resident Evil 6 isn't a good Resident Evil game. Kind of set it aside as its own thing, and that actually started to make things a lot more clear to me. At that point, I was able to focus on the co-op experience, which is my first note. Resident Evil 6 does a pretty okay job at being a cooperative experience. Now, I'm not saying it's the best co-op game you can get, but the puzzles are simple enough, and the combat really feels a lot better when you have a teammate who's a human. The AI in this game really leaves a lot to be desired, so if you're gonna play Resident Evil 6, I honestly recommend you do it only with a friend. Like I said, the AI is fine, but they're not really that helpful in a fight. The best thing they do is get you up when you get knocked down. So if you're gonna play this game, play it co-op, and I actually think you're gonna have a good time with it. What surprised me most is, as I was playing this game, I left it open to people to join, and someone actually wound up joining my game, so I got to experience what it was like to play online co-op. This is somebody I didn't know, and they just joined my game, so there are people still playing Resident Evil 6. There are fans of this game, but there aren't that many. Like I mentioned earlier, this game actually feels a lot more acceptable if you stop thinking about it like a Resident Evil game. Maybe it's better to treat it like a spin-off. Now, I know it's not a spin-off. I know I'm just kidding myself. Resident Evil 6 is the sequel to 5, which is the sequel to 4 and goes all the way back to the original. I get it, it's canon, but the game plays more like a grand arcade experience. It does so by scoring you at the end of every chapter. It also includes the huge action experience that I was talking about earlier. It buttons all that up in a familiar setting. Resident Evil characters are all over this game. There's the zombies, there's Leon, Chris is in this game, Ada Wong. They're all there. It's just that they're presented in such a way that feels so over the top and action oriented that it doesn't feel like the other games in the series. So if you start thinking about Resident Evil 6 in the scope of an arcade game, it starts to make a lot more sense. You're encouraged to replay levels and get a better score. You're encouraged to play through things with different weapons, new costumes, unlock all the collectibles. All of these things are there. They just don't feel very Resident Evil. And to me, that's why the game did so poorly, but it's also really fun to try to unlock all the things in this game and get all the costumes and play things over again for a better score. I actually think that's at the core of the game's fan base now, playing for better grades and just perfecting those runs. I could see this game being really good for speedrunning, although I haven't tried it myself, but I have considered it. As I said earlier, replayability is at this game's core. That point is driven home by the fact that there are 4 different campaigns to play, and you can play each of those in a co-op experience. So get your buddy, you're gonna play 4 times through from different perspectives of the same story. That means there's different encounters, different bosses, different weapons, different abilities. The campaigns are broken up into 5 hours or 6 hours each, and then you can just pick up the next set of characters and move on from there. So all in all, I hope you got something out of this video. I had a great time trying to find something good about Resident Evil 6, and I'm excited to hear what you think about this game. Are you a huge fan of Resident Evil? Do you like Resident Evil 6? What are your thoughts on this game? I want to hear about that in the comments. So get down there and tell me about why I'm super wrong about Resident Evil 6. And of course, if you like this video, if you got something from it, please do me a favor and like the video. It's a wonderful way to let me know that you liked the video. And finally, if you're not already subscribed, do subscribe to this channel. It's a great way to let me know that you like what I'm doing and that I should keep doing it. If you sub, you'll see all the stuff that I have in mind for the future. Ultimately, I'm just super happy that you spent your time with me today, so thank you very much for watching, and get out there and enjoy Resident Evil 6, but maybe grab it while it's on sale.